Check this out, man. This is the Boxing Source checking in, and we are live right now to give a reaction to what just happened over in Los Angeles. You just had the press conference for Tyson Fury, the WBC and lineal heavyweight champion of the world, and the former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder. And I mean, you pretty much got a definite surprise to some people as you saw Deontay Wilder in there. And this is basically Deontay Wilder, man. Deontay Wilder just came in there. And that was Deontay Wilder. He only had one thing that he was saying, just gave opening comments because that's pretty much what you're obligated to do. But outside of that, he didn't answer any questions coming from Christina Poncher of Represent Top Rank. And all you got was comments from his head trainer, Malik Scott. While Tyson Fury was basically the same Tyson Fury, came in there, walked in, shirt off, of course, his basic little white suit or suit jacket or whatever it is. And he was basically the same Tyson Fury. So what, we see now is just something where we see a different Deontay Wilder. Of course, you're going to have people that say, okay, he's a broken man. He did everything that he could in the first two fights and it didn't work. And, this time around, there's nothing that he could do in order to defeat Tyson Fury. But he's going to try to do something against Tyson Fury. He's not really focused on the theatrics now. You don't hear him screaming the bomb squad thing anymore. It's just about him saying, you know what, we're working. We sleep, and by the time we get up, we're working. And looks like that's his only focus right now. You've seen the face-to-face, or the face-off, and he didn't really, break stride. He was looking straight at Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury was looking straight at him. And it was just a basic thing of who was going to break first, And, with Tyson Fury as jolly and as happy-go-lucky as he is, he's still a fighting man. And he is somebody that says, you know what, there is nobody walking this earth that I'm afraid of. There's no man walking this earth that I'm afraid of. And with that face-off, he was there to try to say, you know what? I see what you're trying to do. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to say that you're this new guy, that you're focused and everything like that, that you don't want to speak. You just want to zero in towards the fight and that, all you're thinking about is that fight and you don't want to say anything or do anything else, but get yourself prepared for that fight. That's fine. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to break my character or you're not going to break my concentration. And that was the thing about it with that face-off. It was like, look, I see what you're doing. I see that, you're a whole new focus guy and everything like that. But you got to understand something. You're dealing with somebody that beats you. And it's something completely different when you're going up against a guy that beats you the way that Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder. And so, man, listen, it's going to be, a real interesting next few weeks here with this, with this particular fight, man. It's going to be something. I know that, a lot of fans are saying like, oh my gosh, man, look at Deontay Wilder. He ain't really caring about anything else. He's just focused on his fight. He's ready for July 24th. He's going to come in there and, like he said in his words, like he really didn't have that many words. He said he's out for blood. It's bloodshed. He's gonna, take Fury's head off. But Fury's like, you know what, man, I've heard all of that before. You were saying that stuff in the first fight. You said that stuff before the second fight. You still, weren't able to do that. So you're saying the same thing now, it really doesn't phase Tyson Fury. So it's like, I just pretty much, say like, hey, we're going to see how this thing is going to turn out, man. Is it going to be something to where, like Tyson Fury said, hey, oh, okay, I'm going to blow up to 300 pounds. I'm getting myself bigger so that I can have this one punch KO power, like, my trainer, Sugar Hill Stewart says. And I'm like, man, he ain't going to balloon himself up to no 300 pounds. That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. He doesn't really need to do that. The thing about him is he's going to still, try to do the same thing that he did in the second fight, which was come forward, make sure that Deontay Wilder does not, step forward, that he's stepping backwards and that he tries to fight on his back foot, because he's seen that he didn't do well when he was trying to fight on his back foot. Now, for Wilder, is going to depend on how confident he is as far as like his offensive skills or what he does as far as like defense is concerned, and definitely counterpunching. I think that, there's something that he could get off of the first fight. There's something that he could get off the first fight, is that if he could be patient enough, and if he could get off that jab, if he knows how to defend against the jab, then he could have a real shot. Shout out there to Ron Finkley, joining live here in the building. We just talking about the press conference. Like I said, man, Deontay Wilder just came in, said his opening remarks, did what, he was basically required to do. And then after that, he didn't really say anything. As far as like, anything for press, I haven't, at this particular point, I haven't seen anything showing that, Deontay Wilder is, going to the press and answering questions from the press. That might just be Malik Scott right now. It might just be, Malik Scott being his mouthpiece, just like he was, during the press conference, like saying that, hey, listen, Deontay Wilder is focused. He's, working on doing everything that I'm telling him to. And, it doesn't matter what Tyson Fury says. Yes, I did say that, Deontay Wilder is stubborn, but he's going to do what I tell him to do when it comes to being in the gym, training, sparring, and everything like that. And he says, as long as Deontay Wilder's doing that, then that's fine with me. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, he's like, look, you could train all you want to, but it's a whole different thing once you step into that ring. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different thing once you step into that ring. Shout out to Dick Game Boxing in this thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Why are we listening to this Hall of Famer to nothing Malik Scott, the autopsy curtain match? Let's go. Like, what's this? Is this supposed to be like, what is this, like a final? It's supposed to be like a final thing here, loser goes home. Okay, so Ron Finkley says that Fury won the press conference. All right, I guess, with Deontay Wilder, like I said, I'm going to grab it once again. This was Deontay Wilder after the opening comments. He was basically like this. And he was like that the whole time. Even with the face-off, he was like that the whole time, So that was the thing. Philippe says that Wilder lost that mental game. Tyson has a mental victory for Deontay to leave first. And that's what I was saying here a few minutes ago. You had both of them, facing off, and the customary face-off. You just there face-to-face at first, for the media to take pictures, the top-ranked guys, the PBC guys, the Mikey Williams of the world, or the Sean Michael Hams of the world taking pictures and everything like that. But after that, you're supposed to like face forward so that people would get their pictures, you know what I'm saying? Where, Tyson Fury be like this. And sometimes, you had Deontay Wilder yelling, "Bomb Squad," or whatever it is. But you didn't see that there. All you saw was, like I said, Deontay Wilder saying nothing, looking straight at Tyson Fury, had his glasses on at first, and then took them off and just looked at him. And the thing about it is like he really did not want to move. He wanted to look straight through Tyson Fury. And he wanted to say, listen, I am not coming here to play around. But Tyson Fury's Tyson Fury. And with somebody that has fought since he was, a wee kid or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? And that ever since he was 6 or 7 years old, he was fighting. So he says, there is no man walking this earth that could beat me. And there is nobody that's out there, no matter what they've done before, is better than me. And when you've done what Tyson Fury has done to Deontay Wilder, especially on February 22nd, 2020, it doesn't matter what the demeanor is of Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury is going to brush basically all of that off. You know what I mean? So it's like, listen, like he said there around Finkley, it's like, at least he showed us, what he was thinking. I want your head on a plate look. That's the only thing with Deontay Wilder. Like he said, like, listen, he's out for blood. I'm gonna have your head on a platter. He said he was going to, be saying that he was going to kill somebody in the ring and all of that. But right now it's just about, okay, let me get this thing over with. Have the press conference there in Los Angeles. Get in there and get out, and that's it. And now it's just about these final few weeks to prepare for this particular fight. And listen, I got too much on the line right now. I went with Tyson Fury, and I have a big bet that's on the line. My reputation is on the line. Tyson Fury has to win, because if he doesn't, I'm gonna be in some real trouble as somebody that covers the sport of boxing. It's not gonna be. It wouldn't be a good look if Deontay Wilder ended up winning the fight, because I would be so embarrassed. I would be so embarrassed, man, as a coverage person. You know what I mean? You say, like, if nothing goes wrong, this could be the fight of the year. It's quite possible that it could be the fight of the year. We have to see if we get the best version of Deontay Wilder that we've ever seen. That's the thing that, Malik Scott was talking about. He was saying, look, in preparation for the second Stavern fight, we were looking at, how Deontay Wilder was doing things as far as like movement is concerned, boxing, using his range and everything like that. But we really haven't seen that version of Deontay Wilder ever since pretty much the first Bermane Stavern fight. Probably to an extent with that first Luis Ortiz fight, but my thing has always been with Deontay Wilder is for the majority of his professional career, he's faced everybody that has been either significantly shorter or a little bit shorter than he is, so he could use his reach and be able to have the ability to use his range. But when he goes up against people that are around his height or taller, then he has a little bit of issues. You know what I'm saying? Will Wilder wear his costume before the fight? I don't think he will. I think what happened here in this press conference, I think there's going to be a theme of no excuses. There's going to be that particular thing. That's why you didn't really hear anything from him. That's why you didn't really hear much about it from Malik Scott. He's like, you know what? we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to go forward. We're going to focus on July 24th, and we're going to, attempt to handle business on July 24th. Now, I got somebody here that, had the press conference there on his channel. Shout out to YSM Sports Media here live. What's going on, man?
How's it going, Jay?
All good, man. All good. We got like people talking about, who kind of like quote unquote won the press conference, looked at, what was happening there with the face off. But I noticed you had, some things about, what Wilder was doing there during that particular press conference. So I want you to break that down a little bit.
I mean, I saw in my comments, it had a bunch of guys saying, Wilder was scared. Wilder was acting like a kid. Wilder lost the plot. No, it's like there's nothing else to say. Like you said, there's nothing else to say. No gloves, no water, no costume. There's nothing else to say. Let's fight. And that's kind of how he was carrying it. Tyson loves his theatrics. Tyson likes to get into your head. He didn't allow that, which was smart. Don't allow it. Focus on the task at hand. The task at hand is beating Tyson Fury. It's not trying to out-talking Tyson Fury. You're not going to do that. That's what he does. So if you're not a talker, don't talk. If you're an action guy, just be about action.
Yeah, basically, and I got a little bit more on that too. I wanted to add in another person on Pound Sports. What's good, man?
What's up, man?
Yeah, man. I mean, like we were saying with Wilder was just basically like this, man.
Yeah, nothing to talk about.
That's it.
That's the thing. And Jay is right. There's really nothing to talk about. I mean, this is the third fight between these two guys. We've already seen the theatrics, between both guys in the two fights. Tyson Fury said, yeah, okay, I'm here to promote the fight. And that's basically it. But the thing about it is this is the third encounter between these two. What's left to promote? And after, Deontay Wilder's opening comments, it's like, well, I mean, I'm just here to come in, knock them out, do what I do, and that's it, and that's basically what it was. And so, while you did have Christina Poncher there, trying to ask questions to Deontay Wilder really wasn't, going for that. It was only Malik Scott, answering questions and just saying like, listen, we're just here and we're getting ourselves prepared for this particular fight. Yeah, Wilder is stubborn a little bit, but listen, he's doing what I ask him to do when it comes to doing the work, So if Malik Scott is confident in that, then that's all they really need to worry about. We don't need to, have all of the theatrics or anything like that, but I mean, some people feel like, okay, he's just doing that and he's like being unprofessional or something. I'm like, well, no, as long as you show up, as long as you're doing what you have to do, which is like the opening comments, then that's pretty much it. Yep. Now outside of that, as far as like the, media, media questionnaire or whatever it is, I'm not sure if Wilder did anything after that. I haven't seen anything around that says that he's done it as of yet. But even with that, I really don't think he's, kind of zeroed in towards that. It's like, it's almost like how he was after, the end of before the first fight happened, the whole thing with Radio Raheem and all of that, he's pretty much like that, it's like the talking is done, you know what I'm saying? Somebody on here was saying like, hey, Fury said, why you bring up eardrums being busted? That was, the whole thing about, Malik Scott talked about the whole back and forth as far as training is concerned, and that, you were a professional fighter, but what are you able to do to show that, you're great enough to have him prepared to, beat somebody like me when
Hey, yo.
we start saying like, yo,
That was
you
the
got
most ludicrous statement I ever heard, bro. But go ahead,
you got
finish, Jay.
Stewart over there. Like Sugar Hill Stewart ain't really been a professional fighter like that. So, what are you doing there? And so that's where, you have this whole thing with Fury talking about, the eardrums, like, hey, like I busted your ear in sparring and I busted Wilder's ear, during the fight, So that's the thing about it.
Hey, yo, real fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just showed that Tyson, that particular comment was a super casual comment. Because for anybody that's watching, Customato was a great fighter. Angelo Dundee, Emmanuel Stewart, Virgil Hunter.
How about the thing with Bo's trainer?
Shit, Freddie Roach.
Freddie Roach wasn't great.
No. Bozianis. Great fighter? No. More so the great trainers are average fighters who study the game. A lot of times dudes that have abnormal ability really don't look at the little intricacies of the sport.
Floyd Sr.
It's like that. Yeah, Floyd Sr., great trainer. I don't remember Nacho Bearstan being a great fighter. I don't even know if he was a fighter. Everybody I named, can you name one great trainer that was a great fighter?
Eddie Futch?
Eddie Futch was a good fighter.
But he wasn't great.
Was he great? Was Ronnie Shields was Buddy McGirt a great fighter? No, he was
Eddie
good.
Reynoso.
Come on, man. Like that was stupid to bring up. Like
that's all
Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was a bum. Greg Popovich ain't played no ball.
So you did have that. So I'm like, man, you like that kind of like was, that was like bad on his part, but I just feel like, there's, nothing else that needs to be done. Well, Ricky Hatton, I don't think he's kind of like do you think like he's really like that type of guy for a trainer though?
Yeah,
he's usually like a chief second.
He's just like
Ricky would be the best. Probably, who would you say? Ricky, Buddy McGirt.
Hopefully, Roy Jones.
Roy,
we'll see.
Okay,
we'll see.
Yeah, Roy. We got to see if Roy becomes a great trainer, but Roy would probably be number one.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Evander don't train his son. It's a lot of dudes that don't train fighters.
Yep.
But I can do it, but I can't teach it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the thing, that's the thing about it. Usually with boxing, as it being an individual sport, like you could show them to the T from step 1 to step 5, but if they don't really have it in them, then there's nothing else you can really do. So that's the thing about training is that it's one thing to be a great trainer, but your fighter also has to have that ability to execute what you want to execute. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But like pound for pound, what were you thinking about there with this press conference? What did you get out of it?
Wilder did exactly what I wanted him to do. Don't say nothing. Make him feel that like your wrath. Let Tyson wonder what you're thinking. You know what I'm saying? Because bottom line, Fury knows what happened. Sugar Hill knows what happened. Wilder knows what happened. Now, whatever they want to put out in the public and the media, be like, oh no, that's not what happened. They know in the back of their heads, they know what happened. They know what they did. They know what they didn't do. You feel what I'm saying? But they know that they got to face this man. It's just funny how you cracking jokes when it's time to fight Anthony Joshua. Oh yeah, I'm gonna beat him. But all of a sudden when Wilder come, oh I gotta get back in the gym and you get real serious because you know what's coming for you. You know you can't play with this man.
The thing about it is, like you said, you can't play boxing. But I don't think the thing is that Fury was playing around like that. He's been in the gym. That's the thing. He's been in the gym, but the thing with Fury right now is that his level of confidence is like at an all-time high because of what he did. So it's like right now, does that mean that with his confidence, his guard is down a little bit as far as like underestimating what Wilder could do in this fight, in July? So that's like one of the, things that we're not sure about. Someone's saying here that like, Fury gonna clip Wilder once again, but anything is possible. You know what I'm saying? Or Wilder has a puncher's chance, and well, someone says that Wilder has a puncher's chance and nothing more.
Can I touch on that?
But
hey, Gerald, can I touch on that?
Go ahead.
All right, so fans like to act like that adjustments can't be made. Let me give you an example of an adjustment. Tyson Fury outboxed Wilder on the back foot, but got dropped twice. He realized in the 12th round a strategy that if you make Deontay Wilder back up, he's less effective. So that's him making a conscious change in strategy. Tyson Fury normally is the fleet of foot fighter, jabbing a lot of feints off the back foot, and he switched it up. Okay, cool. Stop acting like Deontay Wilder can't switch it up. He already touched him twice and dropped him twice. So we do know that's possible. Stop acting like it's just beyond the realm of possibility that Tyson Fury can't get clipped again. It's a heavyweight fight. Anything can happen.
Now, when I like open this discussion up, I said Wilder could build on two things that he could work on. One is defending the jab, and two is countering off of that. Because with the thing that happened in the second fight, right, and it came off the tail end of the 12th round of the first fight. Pretty much like Fury just fought on his front foot, but he fought with an aggressive jab. He was just aggressive with his jab. But if you could, be there and time it and be able to defend the jab, then you could do something off that, whether it's block it and then come off or just dodge and come off. And you see that they're trying to, practice on that, So that was the thing about it is that what Wilder is trying to build on is to see if Fury wants to be the aggressor, then, build off that and just counter off of it. Because with Wilder as an aggressor, it's not like he's a one-trick pony, and he wasn't really like a one-trick pony in those two fights. Like, people don't see that he was trying to, get in anything that he could. So it wasn't just like going in the jab and everything like that. He was trying to do lead rights. He was doing jabs to the body, that type of thing. So he's going to try to, focus on getting himself where he could use his offense and be able to defend well while he's trying to get his offense off.
You know what I noticed? And y'all tell me when y'all go home and go back and look at the fight. Every time Wilder throws the right hand, Fury gives up ground. Fury is very fearful of the right hand for obvious reasons. That's his number one weapon. That's the go-to. That's the nuclear missile. But every time he throws the right hand, Fury backs up. So if Fury's pressing forward, a strategy that Wilder could use is to throw the right hand more, but not that lunging. I'm throwing every bit of the stroke when you with a lady.
That's the thing. Yeah. It's got to be like mid-range. And I said that before the second fight.
Throw the right hand or feint the right hand.
Yeah.
To stop him from coming forward. You can win rounds and work off of other punches. Feint the right hand, throw the left hook to the body. Feint the right hand, throw the left hook up top. Give them different looks. Hopefully, Malik Scott, by the way, it's Philly native. Shouts out to Philly. Hopefully, Malik Scott has him working on different ways of delivering his nuclear weapon.
Yeah, that's the thing that they were talking about. When in previous interviews, that they were, looking at different ways to, set it up. Like it doesn't have to, come out of nowhere, or It doesn't have to come at a certain point or whatnot. But the thing is like, well, people say like Fury's not going to fall in that distance game. Well, in the second fight, that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to measure the range between where he was and where Wilder is, because like I said, with Wilder having that right hand, as long as it's within closer mid range, he'll be able to get the most out of it. But if it's like fully extended, then he might not get everything out of it, and he could be like out of position and out of place. So it really depends on the patience of Wilder on if he's going to, either be confident in his defense, because he can't just let Fury be too confident in his offense, in his jab, and be able to just dart in and dart out, because you're going to just try to see if you can get yourself off, but he's going to be out of position. So I think it's going to be more about Malik Scott teaching Wilder to set traps for Tyson Fury. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing about it. Someone says that maybe if Wilder is 10 years younger, there's too much of a change to make in a small amount of time. Hard to teach an old dog new tricks and get them out of bad habits. Well, yeah. The thing about that is, like Malik Scott said in the press conference, that this is stuff that Deontay Wilder has done in the past. It's just that you haven't really seen it yet. That's what Malik Scott's saying. So if he knows that Deontay Wilder has that ability, then he's going to see if he's going to be able to show that ability in the ring on July 24th. And that's the thing about it, because he will basically have to show some type of element of that, because there were a good amount of things that he was able to get away with the majority of the opponents that he's had. But with Tyson Fury, you can't necessarily do that, because one, he has the height, he has length, he has the range, and he has the ability to move around and kind of feign himself. That was the thing about that first fight, is that Fury kind of feinted a lot, and Wilder was like, do I throw? But in the middle rounds, he was like, let me see if I can be a little bit more patient, and if he messes up, then I'll throw hooks. Or if I do something where, like with Fury in that first fight, what he'll do is he'll anticipate the first punch and then he ducked down. So Wilder just threw and just kept throwing. And so as long as he was able to land on the right spot, then he would be able to get a good shot in. That's how he was able to score, to me at least, the first knockdown.
Pound for pound, real fast. Tell me your thoughts on what Fury has to do to win.
I mean, I don't even know, really. I mean, to me, Wilder's already seen everything Fury can do. He can fight going backwards. He can stay on the outside. He can fight going, in the inside, going forward. So, I mean, for Fury, I think it's just, mixing it up.
How would you change if you're Wilder?
If I'm Wilder, I would show, okay, if Fury's coming forward, I throw some uppercuts in there, right? I'd work the body a lot more, set up the right hand a little bit more, stop telegraphing everything, stop loading up and overthrowing the right hand like he did in the first fight. I think everything is just all on Wilder's legs. If Wilder has his legs and his stance is a little bit better, because his stance was really wide and he was kind of really relying on his power, I think you try to work behind the jab, work on Fury's body, because if he's saying he's going to come in 300 pounds, he's going to be a little bit slower.
He's not coming in 300 pounds.
I'm going by what he said.
I'm going by what he said. If he comes in a little bit heavier, and his whole game plan is just to
might not even sanction that fight if he comes in there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm just saying, if he comes in heavier and he just wants to just bum rush Wilder like he did last time, well, guess what? We didn't get to see Wilder with his feet under him. We didn't get to see Wilder try to go to his body and slow Fury down. We only got to round 7. What happens in the later rounds? We know Wilder's waiting for that perfect shot, and when you make a mistake, bam, it's over with.
Well, he could do something to where he in Wilder's case, right? He could do something to where if Fury is around that same weight area that he was for the second fight, around 270, 275, that, like you said, it could, try to see if he could get to the later rounds and see what, Fury's energy level is or endurance level is by that particular point, and then try to see if he can capitalize on that because, like the thing you were saying, I mean, yeah, Wilder has seen what Fury has been able to do, but, on the other side too, is we've seen Wilder be able to have power late in the fight.
Oh, another thing that Wilder needs to do, stop looking at the ref. If Fury doing little dirty tricks, putting your head locks, hitting you wherever, hit behind the head, you do it right back to him. You got to fight this man. I'm not, if he do it, I'm doing it. I'm hitting low, hitting him on the hip. I'm doing whatever I want. If the referee, just make the referee work. Make him have to tell, warn you just like he's going to warn you. I mean, warn him. That's it. I'm not going to look to the ref. Oh, he's hit me behind the head and hit him back. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it. Yeah, that's the thing about it. Don't look for the referee to give you any breaks. I mean, you've had instances where, you've seen, I just watched the fight between Mayweather and Arturo Gatti, again. And then that first round where, it was just basically where Gotti ducked down, but Mayweather held down a little bit and then stepped back. And then Arturo Gatti thought the ref would step in, and then he just said, bam, and it knocked him down to the ropes. So you got to be able to just say, you know what, let me just do, if Fury's going to try to weigh my head down, let me just try to get some, things in the body or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Or, try to do something where you're close, you get in an uppercut. Because there were times when he was trying to do that in the second fight. When he was in the ropes and they were up close, he was trying to throw uppercuts and those type of things. So he's got to be able to do, the same thing. So you got that you got to work on. I just feel like he got to do something if he could defend the jab, then he would have a shot. Because to me, it was basically the jab that really kind of had him, really in a bad way, especially in the second fight. And he's got to be able to defend the jab well. He can't just have his hands up. He got to be able to, if he can just, be like this, if he could cross or move his head a little bit or try to back up a little bit or something like that and try to get, Fury out of position. Because it's not like, Fury is somebody that, is a wizard when it comes to foot movement. You know what I'm saying? So if you could get him off balance, then you'll be able to, catch him too, if you can. Someone was talking about the one fight last weekend that happened where, where a corner threw in the towel and the ref didn't stop the fight and it was thrown back out. I don't know, I don't know if they had the rules there. I don't know what the rules were for that particular fight. Usually they have something where only the ref could stop the fight or something. So maybe that was the case, but I mean, I've seen those type of instances where, corners throw the towels in and if the fight still happens and, if it'll be up to the ref if the fight could be stopped or not. But yeah, I feel like with Deontay Wilder, it's all about, his head movement or whatnot. If he's able to, move his head a little bit. And the other thing that you were talking about with Wilder is his stance. His legs, he has a very wide stance in what he does. And I think that it kind of limits his mobility too, because I feel like he's, tall, but he's lanky and his wide movement just makes him, slow as far as moving left, right, side, and that type of thing. And if you do that, you're making yourself, especially as tall as you are, you make it easier for an opponent if he's trying to chase you to corner you or get you to the ropes. He has to, be able to shorten himself up, move a little bit shorter if he can, have his stance, his legs a little bit closer so he can move, a little bit quicker. Because if you can't, that's how you get yourself, cornered or in the ropes a lot. And I think, with that, even with the power that you have, you got to be able to use everything behind what you got in order to get the most power out of it. If you overextend yourself, or if you don't, have the legs under you, it's not going to have as much power behind it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But hey, man, I gotta go. Y'all hit the like button, comment below, share. Salute to y'all, man. Salute to you, Boxing Source, man. I'm looking forward to this fight.
Yep, no doubt. Yep. So you got Pound for Pound Sports Entertainment. Y'all be sure to catch him on YouTube, like and subscribe to his videos as well, man. So, like I was saying here, with this whole thing with the press conference, man, I mean, you got, Deontay Wilder just coming in there with one, singular focus as far as like, listen, I'm going to just be here. I'm going to show up. I'm going to just make a few comments. And then after that, that's it. I really don't need to do anything else in his instance. And for some people, there really isn't much else that, you could do as far as like promoting a fight, building the fight up, or anything like that. If people are interested, then they're going to be interested. If they're not, then they're not. If you didn't, catch, I don't see how. If you didn't catch the first fight, or if you didn't catch the second fight, and what will you have for the third fight? Who knows? But you got, everybody there that, said their things. Bob Arum is like, look, this is going to be a great fight. You got the champion, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and Deontay Wilder, I know he doesn't want to speak, but he'll be ready. I know he'll be ready for the fight. It's going to be a great event. We're going to have 2 million pay-per-view buys. The place will be sold out in T-Mobile Arena. And look, Tyson Fury is still going to win the fight. And that's what you got, that's the thing. I think you asked about this earlier in reference to Wilder. I don't think that he's going to have, the whole Deontay Wilder DW, no mask, no shredder looking outfit type of thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's going to have all that. He's just going to go as simple as possible. He'll probably have a little robe or something like that. And he's just going to go in there, not say anything. He's not going to be no theatrics. He's not going to go like this. He's not going to go like this. He's just going to stand there. And when whether it's Jimmy Lennon Jr. or whoever it is, that's going to be, they're announcing. Once Wilder's announced first, Wilder's just going to be like this. And then they're going to, announce Tyson Fury. Then they're going to go to the center of the ring. And Wilder's going to be like this. And don't be surprised if it'll be a little bit of a struggle if they have the whole thing with the touch gloves, if he doesn't raise his gloves in order for them to be touched up, and that's what it's going to be, I really think that it feels like Deontay Wilder, in a sense, knows what's on the line for this particular fight, okay? What happened to him is something that he did not expect to happen. As confident as he was leading into that second fight, he didn't really expect to be beaten the way that he was. Whether there were some things happening or not, I don't think anything foul happened in that particular instance. If you have something like that, you go ahead and you try to get that straightened out, whatever, and have that. But now it's like, listen, no excuses. You go in there, you've done what you wanted, you've done what you've been trying to do in order to get yourself back in a gear for this third fight, right? So there's no excuses. If you win, okay, you become the WBC heavyweight champion again, and you hand Tyson Fury his first loss of his professional career. But if you lose again, and especially if you lose by stoppage again, then that is, that's going to be something that's going to really get on. I think it will get on them for a little bit, because you have somebody that, like had what it was, 42 wins, 41 knockouts. And then you go up against a guy that, stopped you, handed you your first loss and stopped you. And so you're going up against him again. And so you said, okay, there are a good number of things that were happening leading into that particular fight. Okay, cool. Now everything's a clean slate. You said that you cleaned up of everything, like all of the bad stuff that happened before. You said you cleaned yourself up, clean everything out from that. Now you're starting fresh once again. And now you say, okay, I'm coming in here. I got Malik Scott as my head trainer, and now I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for the gusto. And if he doesn't win, and if he gets stopped again, that's going to be big. What's next for him if he gets KO? 42 wins, 2 losses. Those losses by way of knockout to Tyson Fury. Now, initially, after that fight, I said, if he had a third fight and it immediately happened and he got knocked out, that would be it for him. That would be it for him. That would be his last fight. Now, I don't know. Because the thing with Deontay Wilder is, as polarizing as he may be, there's a good number of people like him. There's a good number of people that don't like him. But that's the thing about it. He's polarizing. So from a business standpoint, you still can make a good amount of money. But what would he do after losing twice, and after losing twice to the same person and getting stopped? Would people be interested in seeing him fight Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua, a Dylan White, Alexander Usyk? What would be out there for him? So this is why I feel like it's make or break for Deontay Wilder in this fight, because it's like he really built himself around having the WBC title at that particular point, and also being undefeated, and also having that aura of having almost as many knockouts and as many wins, one of the highest knockout ratios there in the heavyweight division. So that was the thing about it. I agree with this here, right? That he could have done the same thing that Tyson Fury did before their second fight. But the thing about with Wilder was that he had fights against Dominic Breazeale and Luis Ortiz. Now, Dominic Breazeale, he didn't fight before, but like people knew that Dominic Breazeale was not a guy that was really that much of a threat towards Deontay Wilder. They weren't really confident in that. Okay. So Dominic Breazeale, okay. Luis Ortiz, Luis Ortiz. You know what I mean? So those two fights really didn't. I felt like they weren't good. They weren't good enough fights to really prepare him for a Tyson Fury. It's really rare to get something around that range of a Tyson Fury, but You could have fights against some styles or some guys that are rough and tumble or, use their height and range fairly well. Like somebody that could have been good for him, but ended up fighting somebody else and winning that following, 2 weeks after Fury beat Wilder was Robert Helenius. Robert Helenius is a tall guy, big, has some behind his punch, that could have been somebody that, Wilder could have faced or where he could have worked on some of his skills or anything like that. It didn't necessarily have to be a slobber knocker type of a fight. But Robert Helenius, for his height would have been, pretty good for someone like Wilder to face. Andrew Ruiz was another one. But, the whole thing with him, of course, was that, he had the whole thing, Joshua twice in 2019, and then you had to have something else there for 2020. So if they're saying like, hey, this fight between Fury and Wilder was going to happen regardless of anything, then there really wasn't much that, Wilder could do outside of that. So that was the thing about it. And I didn't think that Wilder himself wanted to get out of that agreement with that 2-fight deal that he had with Tyson Fury to, basically begin with. So that's the thing about it. It's all on Wilder. I think that Wilder, he looks like he has a demeanor that he's focused on this fight and this fight alone. And for me, for his instance, that this is make or break for him. This is by far the biggest fight of his career, and this is going to define where he is at this particular point in the boxing world. Especially in today's standards where. You could have some people that feel like, okay, legacy is one thing and having a record is another. But it's all about, for me, sometimes it's about a resume and who you fight, who you fight, and that basically defines you and what you've done, basically as a fighter, you know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, if Wilder ends up losing to Tyson Fury again, what would it be that could, kind of say like, hey, look, what else would define me as a fighter? I don't know. There's only one other guy that could, basically say that, hey, I could still be something if I got this win, and that's Anthony Joshua. But like I said, I really don't see where Wilder fights Joshua unless he defeats Fury. That's it, What's my prediction of how Fury will win and what round, if a KO? Okay. I have too much on the line. If y'all go into if y'all follow the Boxing Source here on YouTube, or if you look on Twitter on the Boxing Source, okay, there is a clip as part of one of my podcasts where I put a bet on Tyson Fury has to win, okay? If Deontay Wilder wins, then I have to put down the subscription, okay? I can't, I'm sorry, I can't disclose it here. I'm sorry. It's bad. It's bad. If Deontay Wilder wins, I'm gonna be done. I swear I'll be done. But Fury, I feel like Fury is going to win. Okay. And the thing about it is that all right, man, I'll do it. I don't care. I'll do it. Since I've been called out, and usually all call outs are mandatory, and that is what ended up happening. So So one of the contributors of the podcast said that if I wanted to be confident in Fury winning, that I have to put in a bet. So the bet is this. If Deontay Wilder defeats Tyson Fury on July 24th, I have to subscribe to Malik Scott's OnlyFans page for 6 months. I have to subscribe to Malik Scott's OnlyFans page for 6 months. Deontay Wilder better not win. God damn it. He better not win. He better not win. He better not win, man. Or else I'm doomed for life. I'm going to be doomed for life if Deontay Wilder wins. Oh, my God. Listen, I don't care if it's Fury by decision. I don't care if it's Fury by KO. I don't care if Malik Scott says that he refuses to bring Deontay Wilder out from his corner. Tyson Fury better win this. I'm sorry, he better win this fight, man. I swear, I'm not going to, like I said before, I'm not going to bring myself to subscribe to Malik Scott's OnlyFans page. That ain't gonna happen. Nah, son. I ain't going out like that. I'm telling you, I ain't going out like that. You feel me? That ain't gonna happen. All right. So Tyson Fury, like he was coming in there, you know what I'm saying, shirt off, and being what he is. He's not gonna be. Fury's not somebody that's gonna come in looking shredded or anything like that. He's just gonna come in how he comes in, man. And he'll see if we could get himself through this particular fight against Deontay Wilder. Here's one of my contributors to the podcast, Brother Terrell here. Were you able to see a portion of the press conference today?
No, I was not able to check that out. I'm gonna definitely go back and check it out. Some clips on YouTube and Twitter, stuff like that. But just real quick, how eventful was it in regards that this was the first stop on the press conference? How was that?
Well, I mean, it's let's say it's like a first stop, but there won't be any other stops. It'll just be this. I mean, we're here about 5 weeks before the actual fight's taking place. Tickets are now on sale through AXS.com and through the T-Mobile Arena's website. And that Deontay Wilder was basically and Deontay Wilder was basically silent throughout the whole press conference. You know what I'm saying? He made his opening comments, that he was obligated to do. He said something, Tyson Fury said something. But when it came to general questions coming from, top rank representative or spokesperson there, Christina Poncha, whatever it is, only Malik Scott answered questions. Deontay Wilder, had headphones on, Beats headphones on, and just didn't say anything. The only thing he said in the opening comments was that, like, listen, I'm out for blood. Want to have Tyson Fury's head in the platter, and that's basically all that it is. And that's all he said. And you didn't hear no bomb squad, no yelling, no shouting, none of that. He was just silent. And in the face-off, he was just looking straight at Tyson Fury and seeing if Tyson Fury would break. And that was that, So that's the thing about it.
Well, I mean, that's a big wow for me because like, for you to tell me that he didn't even give us one bomb squad. I mean, we already got a lifetime full of those from Matt anyways, but honestly, so my reaction to that is either he is 110% focused on actually fighting this fight and become successful and gain that title back, or I don't know, because I mean, for someone that's been highly opinionated for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, as we know, we got quip after quip, comment after comment, outrageous behavior after behavior, including twerking. I'll remind you that for your Deontay Wilder fans. Hope Matt is listening to this. Yes, your boy was twerking a couple years ago on video, and it's still out there for public consumption. But like I said, really though, he must be 110% focused on this fight, and that's good because I mean, we talked about this 25 million times. Me personally, I would love to see a redemption story. I would love to see him capture his title. I mean, it just creates waves in terms of interest in boxing, and particularly the heavyweight division, which you know at times has really driven boxing. But like I said, I'm just surprised to hear that. He didn't really give us much at all, and just pretty much referred to Malik Scott to talk for him in that regard. So like I said, he must be totally focused. I mean, that's the only thing I can say about that. You know, I'm sure a lot of us have been watching some of his training videos lately. He looks good. He looks good. It looks like he's added some things to his repertoire, more punch output. But all of that doesn't matter until we come up to the actual fight and get in the ring. And bottom line, if he doesn't execute all the stuff we've been seeing, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. So he can be focused. I mean, there's to my knowledge for the first fight, second fight, I don't think there was any outside big distractions that kept his focus out of the fight. Away from the fight, and that prevented him from performing at his top level. I mean, how many times have we seen where a fight happened and somebody said, "Oh, I got hurt in training camp. That's why I didn't fight well," things like that. I mean, Wilder has some excuses for stuff happening during the fight. We know the last fight he blamed on his what's called suit, said that way too much, things like that. So at this point now, it is no excuses. So
exactly,
it's good to see that total focus, and we want to see that. But like I said, come fight night, if it doesn't match up to what's in the ring, what we've been seeing on training videos, like Matt says, send him straight to hell.
I mean, that's the only thing that he could, try to do here at this particular point. It's way too much. There's way too much on the line for him in this particular instance. In that he can't lose his fight, especially in the same in the same fashion that he did, in this second fight. He can't do that. He can't really do that here in this particular instance because it's like Wilder got beat. You know what I'm saying? Wilder got beat up on February 22nd, 2020. And for somebody that, like I was saying before, you had like 42 wins, 41 of those wins by way of knockout. You had that confidence that you had going into that particular fight, and then you get beat the way that you did, So that's the thing. They said someone said they admitted that he had a busted eardrum. I mean, maybe it's not fully healed. I mean, who knows? I mean, yeah. I mean, they said Fury said, "Listen, I busted Wilder's ear in the fight, and I busted Malik Scott's ear, in sparring." So it's like here you got two guys that I busted their eardrum. So maybe I'm gonna do that again here in this third fight. I mean, I see I've been talking about this here for a bit. That you do have a newly focused Deontay Wilder here in this particular bout, okay? But I think from his side, it may look like people may say that, hey, he's no nonsense, no excuses, somebody that's just going to be in there and take care of business and that's it. But for me, it's different when you're doing that against a guy that has beaten you and that stopped you and that has the confidence that there is nobody walking in this earth that could beat him. And that's Tyson Fury. He could be looking at him face to face and that's that, And you know how, and what Wilder was doing, he was just looking straight at Tyson Fury. He had his earphones on, he had his glasses on when he walked up, and then he just took them off and just looked straight at Tyson Fury. And that face off was for like, I don't know, like 5 minutes or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying?
And thinking about the fight, first fight, 12 rounds. We know what happened with that one. The knockdown, Tyson Fury flat on his back. Even for that fight, went 12 rounds. So how many rounds did Wilder win in that first fight? Just quick number out there.
Wilder won, I'd say four. I gave him 4 rounds. 2 round 9 and round 12, and then 2 other rounds outside of that.
Yep. So the second fight, that fight went 7 rounds, right? On the TKO victory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Wilder say, we'll give Wilder, I'll give him 2 rounds. I need to go back and watch the fight again. So in that fight, so in 2 fights, these guys have fought a total of 19 rounds, and with Tyson Fury winning the majority of those rounds, right?
Yeah.
So if you just look at that strategy alone, and what does that suggest to you? That it's going to say things going to happen again. The same thing is going to happen again. That's what those stats suggest to you. Like I said, going forward into the third fight, we see that Wilder is totally focused, 110%. And even just look at the mindset of Fury. Privately thinking, he's pissed that he has to fight this fight again. Because in his mind, I've already beat this dude down twice, even though I only got a victory for him 1 time. I'm wearing the belt. I've been wearing that dude's belt for over a year, walking around the world, bragging, talking, styling, Ric Flair style on Wilder. you know. So in this mind, I'm going to beat him down again. So, but at the same time, he's probably pissed because he has to fight this fight. That point, we already knew there was framework for him to fight Anthony Joshua, and now all that's been derailed from the one swipe of an arbitrator. So probably Fury's going to be focused. We know that, but it looks like we're not going to have that same build up to this fight. Kind of like you suggested when I saw you down here in Tampa. It's not a lot of time to build up to this fight. Not a lot of promotion time, things like that. Even like you just told me now, there's only been just this one press conference, and we're not.
Yeah, it's only one.
It's
only one because, I was saying when it's something like this, you have the third fight. Like if people didn't get anything from the first fight or the second fight, then they're not going to get much out of this third fight as far as like their overall interest is concerned. Whoever was interested in the first and the second, they're going to be interested in watching the third fight regardless. There are a lot of people that are, a lot of fans that are turned off by this particular fight happening, regardless of what, went down with the arbitrator or any arbitrator or anything like that. I'm not going to turn into conspiracy JR in that instance. Right now, what we have in front of us is Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world. So and that's basically it. As one person said, that's the only press conference that they're doing for this fight. I didn't say that I was going to be able to try to make that particular press conference in Los Angeles, but once they, posted the announcement for it, that I kind of like felt like, okay, yeah, this is going to be it. They're not going to go to, New York. They're not going to have something in New York. They're not going to have something in Texas or anything like that. It's just going to be that particular press conference. Whatever media, attended that, they did that. You have, still things going back and forth as far as like COVID is concerned. But with Las Vegas is going to be 100% open. They're basically 100% open now. If y'all seen the hockey games that they have over there. So for this thing, for the T-Mobile Arena, they're going to have, full capacity there for this particular fight. And it's just going to be, okay, who's going to buy the tickets? Who's going to buy the pay-per-view? And that's that. Like I said with Bob Arum's going to be like, listen, man, we got 2 guys two heavyweights, the best heavyweights out there. And on July 24th, you are going to see a great fight. And we're going to have 1.5 to 2 million pay-per-view buys. You can guarantee it. But outside of that, the way a question, live question there, the weigh-in will still be televised. Yeah, I feel like the weigh-in is still going to be televised. I don't see any instance where it's not going to be. It'll be televised. It'll be, simulcast, Fox and ESPN. Well, ESPN is probably going to do it. I don't think Fox is going to do a live weigh-in unless if it's like, online on like PBC on Fox or something like that. Or maybe they'll have it on Fox Sports 1 for the US. But outside of that, it's only that's how that's going to end up being. But right now, all you're gonna get is maybe Fury talking a little bit here and there, but you're not gonna hear much from Deontay Wilder from this point until the fight happens. I think they're still gonna be in camp. They're still gonna do a couple of things here and there. He did mention before this whole thing that he has somebody else that they brought in for the camp. So that depends. Yes, I do. Question here. You think Wilder will still be saying nothing by then and on weigh-in night? Yes. Like I said, I don't think he's saying anything from this point until that bell rings for the first round. I said it, like leading into it, you're not going to see the regular theatrics from Deontay Wilder. Before the fight, you're not going to see, him going like this and, like this and all of that. And, you're not going to see that. You're just going to see Deontay Wilder stoic, eyes forward, looking straight forward, whether it's at Tyson Fury or through Tyson Fury. That's what you're going to get with Deontay Wilder at this particular point. That's it. That's all. That is it, and that is all. For some people, they think that that's going to be great for him, but who knows? Who knows? If that's going to be good for him. I mean, like there are comments on here, like, they say that Deontay Wilder is a broken fighter. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. From Malik Scott's perspective, he's not. From what has been said before this particular point, it doesn't look like he is. So, I feel like, hey, if he is able to, get himself focused, do a couple of things, that he didn't do in the two fights that he had with Tyson Fury before, then maybe he has a shot. But like I said, I have too much on the line for Tyson Fury not to win this fight.
So
too much. Yeah.
Let me ask you a side question. So I think it was the second fight. It was the one that broke the gate record for a live fight. Correct?
Live gate, yes.
Right. So now going forward to a third fight, once again, it's going to be in Vegas. And now with things opened up with the pandemic in terms of people being allowed to attend live events. And I wish I had those pay-per-view numbers too for that last event too. But so basically, how do you think the fight's going to do? Will this fight rival the gate numbers at the last event? With things opening up back then? And also, what do you think the pay-per-view number will be for this fight? That's one thing I was just explaining to a friend of mine. It's funny that Mayweather has been retired from boxing for 5-6 years. He stays relevant. Fought Conor McGregor. Last week or whatever it was. Fought Logan Paul, whatever, right? And keep his name really up there. And yeah, he's not fighting at the boxes, but at the same time, Mayweather is still smashing pay-per-view numbers. And there's not a fighter out here today And whatever you want to look at Errol Spence, and granted, these guys are not pay-per-view stars at this point because they keep in mind you're still living past Floyd Mayweather's numbers, things like that. But Mayweather can come and do an exhibition fight and get 1 million pay-per-view buys, regardless of the price. Whereas you got these top stars in boxing now that can't generate this. The only person that even came that close to that is like Fury Wilder, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
with that said, what do you think the live gate would be? Would that approach the last record? And what about the pay-per-view number for the fight?
It can. Yeah. Yes, Philippe. I do have a lot on the line on this fight. I just went on AXS.com, and the seats like on the back row are over $500. Okay. They range from, if I could get out of there, it was like 5,500 or something like that. Yeah, I have to get out of this thing so I could bring this back up, because what we got is like they doing it by sections, but like floor seats are around $3,500. Premium floor, it'll be about 3,500 and up. Probably floor seats at minimum will be about 2,500. So like the first level seating is about 2,000 to about $2,500. So it's gonna be a good number of seats that they're gonna try to end up selling for this. Yeah, Philip. I know that you'll have something to laugh at, but we can't have that happen. We listen. I cannot have Deontay Wilder winning this fight. I don't care what anybody says. Like I said before, I don't care if it's Fury by decision. I don't care if Fury floors Wilder if Wilder doesn't get up. I don't care if Malik Scott doesn't bring Deontay Wilder out of the ring. There's no way that I am going to. So I'm not going to subscribe to player. I'm not going to subscribe to that man's page. That ain't happening, because it ain't happening. I'm gonna try. I will try to be at the fight. Try to see if I could get in through applications or whatever it is. I'll see how that is handled. It's going to be very difficult, as people know. Extremely difficult. I'll just say, like, the method to apply for fights of this magnitude is very difficult to be approved, and I've only been approved once by that avenue, and for circumstances, I had to turn it down. But there was another thing that happened with that, which will come up later. I'll have another video coming up in reference to later news. No, I am based in the Washington, D.C. area. I am in the D.C. area. So it would be a good little trip for me to go from D.C. over to Las Vegas for this particular bout. It could have happened, but for other events, but I'm not sure if that's going to take place for other events. But for this one, oh yeah, because it's either like I want to see if I can get in for this or for Spence versus Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? Because both of those are going to be in Las Vegas. They ain't open yet. They're going to be open they're going to be open tomorrow. So, yeah, that's the thing about that. But yeah, this fight, think that, people are kind of like looking forward to this particular fight. We discussed the undercard, all heavyweights undercard. That's going to be, it's going to be a pretty good thing there. And they're planning on doing something for Fox as well. So I'm, keeping my ears out for Fox has their little presentation thing going for that. So we kind of like talked about that a little bit last week. That Fox will have their little presentation and whatnot. And this thing here is going to be full of rematches. Fury versus Wilder. Yeah, yeah. I was going to talk about that. Fury versus Wilder is a rematch. Uh, Robert Helenius versus Adam Kalnacki is a rematch. So you had, those two fights that happened last year within a 2-week time span. You had Fury stop Wilder, and you had Helenius stop Kalnacki. That was over in the Barclays Center last year, March 7th or whatnot, March 6th, March 7th. So that's going to be a rematch. You're going to have Jared Big Baby Anderson in there in the opening bout for the pay-per-view telecast. And they're supposed to lock down a fight between Frank Sanchez there from PBC side there. And, he's supposed to be, going in the ring there against Efe Ajagba. So you have a cross-promotional bout, two cross-promotional bouts, top-ranking PBC, like I said, Fury and Wilder, and now you're going to have Efe Ajagba against Frank Sanchez, and then you got one PBC fight with the rematch with Robert Helenius and Adam Kalnacki, and then one top-ranked fight with, the real big baby Jared Anderson opening the bout out. So it's an all-heavyweight card there for pay-per-view. Should be good. People, with it being all heavyweights, are going to be expecting knockouts. So that's what they're setting up here. The matchmakers, put their heads together and, did their thing. Tom Brown and Brad Goodman, they're from, TGB Promotions and Top Rank, respectfully put that card together. So that's gonna be, a good little scrap. I might, see if I could get in contact with Tom Brown to talk about this card a little bit, maybe. Or maybe he could give me some little insight as far as like if there's anything else that's on the cards, because like I said, we're pretty much like 6 weeks away from this thing to go down. And I don't think it's just going to have those 4 fights as a standalone. You're going to see some things happening starting at, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, leading into the pay-per-view, which is going to be around 9:30, 10 o'clock or something like that, Eastern time. So I think that's how that's going to, shape itself out. But hey, that's what it is, man. I mean, here we are leading up to this, big bout, here between Fury and Wilder. Like I said, I'm favoring Tyson Fury, but you're going to see, at least in those first few rounds, you're going to see a really different demeanor from Deontay Wilder. And how Fury reacts to that will show like what is going to happen for the rest of that particular fight. I know that, Tyson Fury said that, I'm going to come in at 300 pounds for this fight. No, he's not. He's not going to do that. He's going to be around that same weight range that he was in the second fight. I think it'll also be interesting to see where Deontay Wilder is for this particular fight, because remember, for that second fight, he was at the heaviest weight that he ever had been in his professional career. And with somebody that, doesn't have, that good foot movement, that really is, very basic in his foot movement, that doesn't work well with somebody that comes forward like Tyson Fury came forward. It made it easier for Tyson Fury to, corner him or to cut off the ring. So we got to see if, Tyson or Deontay Wilder is able to do better as far as like moving side to side, moving laterally, so that he doesn't get himself trapped, So that's the thing about it, is that will Malik Scott be able to teach him enough to get him through this third fight against Tyson Fury, with Tyson Fury having, the tutelage of, Sugar Hill Stewart for, it's been pretty much like what, almost 16 months now, up to this particular point. Um, More than that, since, he had Sugar Hill Stewart leading into the second bout. So it's been about uh, 20 plus. No, he's not. Brother Terrell has a, a culinary skill. And so right now, Terrell is, chopping up some onions, chopping up some peppers, grilling a steak, putting together. Okay, here you go. So here, this is more lobster. So this is more lobster tail. He's having a lobster biscuit, no, lobster with asparagus. All right. So this is live right now. This is a live commercial for Taste by Terrell, folks. All right. So there you go. You just had the food right there, and it's going, and you're gonna see the finished product. You follow Taste by Terrell on Instagram, and you'll be able to see the finished product. All right. So there you go. That's your answer there, Philippe. All right. So that's why you heard all of that stuff going on there in the background. So that's the thing. so that's what's going on.
But let me get back to water. But I'm gonna tell you, I don't remember the last time I've seen an undercard where I've been so excited to see each and every fight, right? For the reasons. I mean, we all know about Big Baby, his rise, knocking everybody out, phenomenal young fighter, great power, great movement, all those things like that. Hasn't faced adversity yet, but he's young. That's going to come. We talked about how many times we talked about Matt's boy Kawanaki when that bit of a shocking loss to Helenius last year, and we've been waiting to see when he's going to return to boxing, and now we finally know. So that's going to be a lot of great storylines from that. I mean, me personally for Kawanaki, I mean, he's a fat fighter. I mean, you ain't got to be a bodybuilder or nothing like that, nothing like Holyfield like that. But to me, he's just a soft guy. He has skill. Yeah, he has skill. He has size. But to me, he needs to be more in shape, more stronger in order to have that resolve, things like that, which also gives you confidence to go along with your skill set. But for me, so that's my take on Kawanaki. He's just too soft. And it showed it in that last fight. And on top of that, got hit by another heavyweight. So that's fine with that. But also, moving forward to the Frank Sanchez Efe Ajagba fight. Everyone knows I've always been a Ajagba fan for a long time until he got exposed a couple fights ago against, I forget the guy's name, and moved on from Ronnie Shields, things like that. So he had a decent show in this last fight, knocked out somewhat of a unknown. So that's a good job for that. But I want to see, this is going to be his first real test against someone that could punch back. And on top of that, Sanchez has good size, coming in at 6'4", and so it's going to be very comparable to Efe Ajagba, who's still going to be taller than most fighters. So I'm very excited to see that, right? But let's move on back to Wilder Fury. Now, I'm going to give some good comparisons, and although these are different weight classes, so let's look at people that also had 3 fights. Pacquiao, Marquez, right? And the main storyline I want to get to, right, is when these people fight for the third time, there's no need for fill-out rounds. For me, I want you to get right to it because you know exactly what that guy's going to do. You had 2 previous fights to know your opponent, their movements, their tendencies, things like that, their strategy, things like that. So will Wilder totally focus like this? If he can maintain this, your better side, I think he should be able to blow Fury out of the water. That's in theory. Because we know that Tyson gives you angles. We know that Tyson has good foot movement, which Wilder does not have. Wilder doesn't jab effectively like he's supposed to, given his height and his arm and things like that. He doesn't do those things. We know that. But like you're going to a third fight, I mean, with other people that we've seen with third fight, I mean, go even further back. Gotti Ward, I think they fought 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Gotti Ward.
Yep.
Yeah, Mickey Ward. And at that point, I mean, granted, these are lower weights and they have higher punch outputs. I understand that. But once it got into the ring on these subsequent fights, they got right to it. Ain't no fill out process. I mean, do I expect that in this fight? I mean, I kind of do with Wilder, like I said, trying to maintain that focus and just be focused on the fight and it's the opponent that's right there in front of him. I would hope to see that. I mean, if he goes in and blows him out of the water with a clean knockout, I wouldn't be surprised because that would go right along with the focus that he's showing right now. But once again, it's just hard. It's so hard to buy into Wilder. How many times have we dissected him from lack of a jab, lack of punch output, lack of foot movement, things like that, just been awkward and just lanky at times, despite the fact that he has the moniker of being an athlete, which I don't necessarily buy into because every brother ain't no athlete. I'll tell you that right now. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
You know, just because you're a brother, no me just everybody can't slam dunk. We know that. So, but I want to see them actually when the fight happens, get right to it. And I mean, the first round, I'll give a first round to fill it out, things like that. We already know Fury's gonna show that lateral movement, that careful plotting jab just to fill him out, things like that. I expect for Fury to come in that first round and have a higher punch output. But at some point, I'm sure that Wilder's going to try to land that big right hand at some point during that first round at some point, and we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see what happens. All these like I said, all these training videos that Wilder has out there with Malik Scott, the left hooks, all those stuff that we haven't necessarily seen from Wilder. So once again, it's a different story from training videos and actually executing that strategy in the ring. So we're really gonna see. So third fight, I want them to get right to it. Right to it.
That's the thing. I want to see if he actually does what Malik Scott's trying to teach him. The stuff about trying to catch and then counter and then move out of the pocket or move out of the line of vision of Tyson Fury. If he's going to be able to do that, my thing was like I'm seeing if Deontay Wilder can properly defend the jab of Tyson Fury. It doesn't mean that he has to time it. It just means that he has to figure out a way to defend it. Like he has to be able to catch it, whether he's going back or moving forward. He has to be able to catch the jab of Tyson Fury because everything that he could do is built off of that, whether it's from a defensive standpoint or from an offensive standpoint. He has to be able to defend the jab of Tyson Fury. And that's the thing about it is, are you going to be able to execute it there in the ring? That's the thing that Fury was talking about in the press conference. It's like, listen, we've seen what you've been able to do with Deontay Wilder there in training and everything like that, but it's completely different in the ring. It's completely different if he's going to be able to execute that in the ring. Like I know that he made the wild comment about, okay, you're a fighter, you've had the experience as a professional fighter, but you weren't that great as a fighter. So what could you teach someone like Deontay Wilder that you weren't able to do yourself? But as mentioned earlier by the previous guest, it's like, other trainers weren't necessarily great fighters, but it's all in the person themselves. And that's the thing with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury himself believes that he is the best fighter on the planet, that there's nobody walking this earth that is better than he is, and that's the thing about it. Two comments here live. One from Philippe. Skills always look on the pads, always look great on the pads with the trainer. He needs fights to practice those new moves. That's what, we were suggesting earlier. We were saying, like, look, if Wilder had the opportunity to fight a couple of other people before fighting Tyson Fury again, then maybe we would gauge where he is as a fighter and his development before he goes up against Tyson Fury again. But we're not going to have that. He's going straight into fighting somebody like Tyson Fury, where, I felt like from the first fight that Deontay Wilder has an issue with guys that either move their head a lot, very good as far as like moving their head, or are as tall or taller than he is. So he has issues with that. Once those guys are like shorter and really don't move that well, then all he could do is just control. He can control range. He doesn't have to be really aggressive with the jab. He can just control range, and he could paw down. Like, one of my other columnists says, he could paw down with the left and then come through with the right, But he really couldn't do that against Tyson Fury because Fury controlled the range. Whether it was him being far or him being in mid-range, it was basically Fury. You know what I'm saying? Charlie here says, most of that 40 were rubbish. Also tell me who has Ortiz beaten and how old is Ortiz? Okay. For those that, haven't followed this particular channel or podcast or whatever it is, two things that we've kind of like been on, or at least I've been on for years. One is the resume of Deontay Wilder, and two is Luis Ortiz. Okay. Deontay Wilder, of course, built up his record from the time that he was the 2008 Olympic bronze medalist. Was able to, build up an undefeated record, have his stoppage victories up to a point where he got put into a position to fight Malik Scott, which ended up being for a mandatory spot for the WBC heavyweight title. And so with him winning that particular fight, that put him in position to fight Romain Stavern for the WBC title. And people say like Romain Stavern maybe was a belt holder or whatever it is. He had his 2 wins over Chris Arreola, and after he had that, win, he, lost to Deontay Wilder by decision. Didn't really, only had like 1 fight after that, significantly after, that bout with Wilder, where he, like, people felt like he wasn't really, doing that well in that particular fight. He ended up winning. And then he was supposed to fight, Alexander Povetkin. That fight fell through. And because that fight fell through, he was inactive for over a year until that next fight against Deontay Wilder. And so he had that first round knockout by Wilder in the rematch. So that kind of is the whole thing with Deontay Wilder, is that he only has that win over Luis Ortiz, who at the time was ranked within the top 5 as far as like the heavyweight division is concerned. But with Luis Ortiz, had his stint as a interim champion or whatever it was with the WBA, tested positive for illegal substances on, a couple of occasions, had his fight against Tony Thompson at one point, had his win over, Brian Jennings. And people say like Brian Jennings is his highest ranked win. Might be Brian Jennings, might be Christian Hammer, who knows? But outside of that, you really haven't seen Luis Ortiz in a fight against a highly ranked opponent. So people don't really measure Luis Ortiz that high because he doesn't have that type of competition to, put him at that particular point in comparison to somebody like a recently retired Alexander Povetkin, a Dylan White, Joseph Parker. Even with the Andy Ruiz, yes, Andy Ruiz has his win over, Anthony Joshua, but, he had a close fight against Joseph Parker where Joseph Parker got the decision win. So you don't really have that much of a, resume there for Luis Ortiz that says, okay, here he is at this particular point of his professional career where you could say without a question, he's a top guy and that he's, really a guy that has proven himself. So it still remains to be seen what will happen with Luis Ortiz. But, back to it with Deontay Wilder, there's a lot on the line for him, to, like I said, coming in last year, you had all but one of your fights. Well, basically all but 2 of your fights in knockout fashion. The decision went over Romain Stavern in 2015 and the draw against Tyson Fury in 2018. And then you go into the fight against Tyson Fury in 2020 and you get beat the way that you do. And whether, you have all the stuff that they talk about, whether it's costume, whether it's what happened before the fight and all this type of stuff. Now what you've done, whether you have allegations or not, you put all the pressure on you for this fight. The pressure's on Deontay Wilder. There's really not that much pressure on Tyson Fury for this. Like Fury's like, listen, I took his soul, I took his body, I took everything, in that fight in 2020. So now it's like he's going in there like, hey, what is there that Deontay Wilder could do that would be able to defeat me? I don't see it. Now, we had an earlier conversation with two other guests that says, what could Tyson Fury do to beat Deontay Wilder? Like, they're saying, like, Wilder knows what Fury can do in order to beat him, but, Wilder's basically seen everything that Tyson Fury can do. And that on the flip side, we haven't seen everything that Wilder could do. But that's the thing about it. Will Wilder be able to execute what he's been learning under Malik Scott at this particular point? Who knows? Like a lot of the stuff that he's been doing, it looks good, but for me, I just feel like he should be somebody that should watch what Fury is doing and go off of what Fury is doing. Because here's the thing, if you say that you have the power to knock out everybody, set it up, bait them, have him be confident, have him, lose his focus a little bit, have him, get too cocky and drop his guard a little bit, so that if you had that opening, you could catch him. But I just don't see it.
So I tell you what, consider this. So we know that Wilder is now with Malik Scott after being with Brian for so many years. We know that, and we know that Fury is with Kronk Boxing Gym. I forget the trainer's name.
Sugar Hill Stewart. Yep.
And from that point, right, and we saw an immediate difference in Fury once he signed up with Kronk Boxing. We saw just an improvement in his and once again, let me stop and give Tyson Fury some credit. This guy is 6'9", 280, something like that, whatever he comes in at, and is able to be light on his feet in the ring, and have true boxing skills that most heavyweights wish they had. And I'm talking about heavyweights that are much lighter than him that don't have the skill set that he has as far as being able to actually be a boxer, throw jabs, set things up, and what's remarkable about Fury, despite the fact that he does have true punching power. Now, we saw that he was able to hurt Wilder in the last fight. I think that was a lot of that was more due to shock. Wilder's been in shock on what's happened because things didn't progress like he wanted to. Plus he got clocked on the side of the head. We know that. Mm-hmm. But let's look at the difference between the two camps as far as Malik Scott. I mean, obviously, this is going to be Wilder's first fight with Malik Scott, so we have yet to see what dividends are going to pay off, if at all, with that. But like I said, like you already said, just because you win a great boxer doesn't mean you can't be a great trainer, right? And don't kill me dead. Freddie Roach, he was he had a boxing he had a boxing career, and I know that your biggest critique of him is that he's not able to make adjustments in fight with his fighters to achieve that success that's needed in order to get a win. I know that's one of your biggest critiques of him, but nevertheless, he has got some great careers aside from Manny Pacquiao. We know that that's his greatest charge. But once again, when you look at Malik Scott, we have yet to see what he's going to be able to do with Wilder. We're going to see very soon. But we see that a trainer can have a difference. We look at all we got to do is look at Fury, and we saw that when he switched over to Kronk Boxing, we saw an improvement in his skills, and that's what I think that needs to be focused on as well. But like I said, at this point for us now, we just have to wait for the fight to see what Wilder can actually do under the tutelage of Malik Scott. So we definitely will see on that. It's very interesting.
Yep, and that's the thing about it is people are now like interested to see like what Deontay Wilder could do here while under Malik Scott. Now, we had like an earlier comment here, as far as like You can't teach an old dog new tricks and that type of thing. With Deontay Wilder has been a professional for over 12 years. And, he's almost there, about 45 professional fights. And the thing about it is that, yeah, he's been relying on his, one hit knockout power, but does he have those other skills that you need to have to be a well-rounded fighter? And that's the question that's going to happen here because, like you said with Tyson Fury, he's a guy there that's 6'9", that has a wingspan of 85 inches there, and that's something that Deontay Wilder had never dealt with up to that particular point in 2018. And the thing about it is going to be how will he be able to adjust to that? Now, for me, I just felt like the thing with Tyson Fury was I felt like in the first fight he allowed Deontay Wilder to get to him and allow Deontay Wilder to get within mid-range to where Wilder could land hooks. And so with that being said, either you kind of could smother him or you could keep your distance from Deontay Wilder so that he won't be able to get off his offense. Now, the thing with Deontay Wilder is he's going to have to do something in order to create his own offense. That's going to be his, best way to, try to get something going. Like Brother Philippe said here, like Wilder needs a better feint game. Tyson's is second to none. They're in the heavyweight division. And you saw that, pretty much in the first fight, he was like, moving in, moving out, moving in, moving out, keeping Wilder guessing, even before throwing a punch. So if he's doing that, then you're going to have to do something in order to react to that. So my thing is Wilder going to be able to stay patient enough to say, hey, I know that he's trying to fake me out. Let me just be confident and just do what I do or do what I'm trying to do here in this ring. You know what I'm saying? See how that is going to work, in this case here in this third fight, because like I said, there's way too much on the line for him to lose this fight. Question here from David Smith. Thanks for joining in. What can Malik Scott change about Wilder at this stage in his career? And that's the biggest question leading into this fight, as far as I'm concerned. What can Malik Scott do at this particular point? Like I said, with Deontay Wilder, that's been a professional for over 12 years, that could make him a much different fighter than he has been over the course of his professional career, especially in an instance where he's going up against somebody that's taller, has a longer reach, and has, pretty much more overall skill than Wilder has at this particular point. I think that, with the fight that Tyson Fury had against Vladimir Klitschko, that was just something where he overwhelmed Vladimir Klitschko. And I think that was kind of like the similar situation with Klitschko as it was with Wilder, is that Klitschko dominated a lot of fighters over the course of his professional career, because he was just a guy that had the length, had the reach, he could punch, he did like, jab and grab or whatever it is. He was able to get off his offense and didn't allow you to get off your offense. That's how he was at the peak of his professional career. But against Fury, he didn't have that. He didn't have that ability. He didn't have that option to do that against somebody that's, at his height or taller, and that could, get there with the range that he does. Same thing here with Wilder. How is he going to be able to utilize pretty much the natural skills or the natural abilities that he has as somebody that's 6'7", with an 83-inch wingspan. Like, I bring up that first fight with Luis Ortiz. All he did in that particular fight was pretty much keep his range with his left hand. He didn't really have to throw it. He just kept his range with his left hand. And if Ortiz just got close enough, then he could come through with the right uppercut. And that's what he did in that first particular fight. But now he doesn't have those advantages. So how is he going to deal with somebody that he doesn't have that advantage against, especially if he doesn't move around the ring that well? He's gonna have to show that somehow, some way. He's gonna have to show that he could move around the ring better than he's done over the course of his professional career. If he can do that, then he has a shot. But if he can't, I don't see it. I just don't see it. You know? But I mean, that's pretty much what I got here, man. I mean, this has been like a very extensive discussion. Thanks to everybody that, has joined in live through, the chat and, through, here on the live stream. Terrell jumped in, YSM Sports jumped in. Pound for Pound Sports jump in the discussion as well. So thanks for that. Terrell, you got anything else here before we close out this live?
No, it's just looking forward to the event. We got 3 events this weekend. We already know that one got canceled with Teofimo contracting COVID. So that won't be happening down in Miami. That got rescheduled, but we still got 3 events to look forward to. And boxing is back. That's all I got to say. It's back. We got a lot of stuff to do, to talk about. So that's it.
Yeah. The whole thing about the event in Miami that was scheduled for Saturday, that's been postponed. I'll talk about that in a little bit, put in another video. Still a lot of action that's out there. We got stuff in Houston that's going down. You got, stuff in Las Vegas is going down. Also, other events that's happening as well over in Texas and outside of that. So it's a lot of boxing action this weekend. And like I said, we're looking forward to this heavyweight card coming up for July. And we're going to see if Wilder is going to be able to get this win over Tyson Fury. But like I said, I really don't see it. There's too much on the line for me. I'm not going to put down on a subscription for 6 months. It's just not going to happen there. So there you have it. Here from the Boxing Source. Once again, thanks to Terrell for joining in. Thanks for YSM Sports Media for joining in. Thanks for Pound Sports Entertainment for joining in. Thanks to everyone here that has participated here in the live chat. This is the Boxing Source. Peace. I'm out.